And moving inside, it's nice that this car is actually drivable. Here's a working fuel gauge, a little bit of gas in it. It's nice to see that comes up. The ignition light comes on. We've got a wiper. It works, and it even parks. That's nice. We've also got, I don't know if you can hear it, the super power blower, 1-speed, is working. We've got working blinkers in both directions. We've got working headlights, and high beams, and a high beam indicator that works. So this car actually is drivable. And let's start it up so you can see. I'm not sure if I can do that with one hand. Choke is here. Oh, this is going to be hard. How can I do this? Hang on, stay there for a second. Now, I haven't started this car for about a week, so did need to crank for a minute, but there's 40 pounds of oil pressure at idle, and that's encouraging to see. Needs a little choke. And I don't know if you can see that. We don't have any smoke coming out of the back either. Nice to see, 40 pounds at idle, and a running and working Bugeye ready for you to restore. Okay, let's take a walk around this Bugeye, and I'll show you some of the reasons why I bought this car, because I think it's a very good restoration candidate. Some of the paint was ground off here. The beading is often a weak spot, and so it looks like somebody got started with this project with a little bit of sanding or grinding, and that's about as far as they got. But what we really like to see is that these fenders are in nice shape. There are no front fenders available. You can get them used occasionally, but this is a good fender. There's no dents that have been put in it. It's not stretched and repaired. We've got this rocker panel issue right here in the front that's common right behind the tire. But the rocker itself is really not bad. Usually there's much more damage to deal with. And then we've got a little rust here in the A-pillar. That's also a common problem. But again, it's pretty well contained. The door is straight, no old dents or damage. And what's really surprising on this car is this lower fender is almost always rusted away. And this one's actually, it might have had a repair right here, but it's good metal, and it's much better than most of the Bugeyes that I've come across. The back deck as well, oftentimes they get all dented and dinged from people hitting them. This one, the rear bumpers actually did their job, which is rare. They often get pushed right into the back of the car, and in this case they're damaged, but the important part, the body metal, is not. It's actually quite good. And onto this side, same sort of thing. Very solid rear quarters, straight. Here's a little bit of dimpling going on right in the back of the rocker. That's also common, but not too bad. A good door. A little more rust in the A-pillar here, but that's a pretty easy place to just cut and weld in a patch. And the front of the rocker here is not bad. And then this front fender has one little dent repair here, but it's pretty small. And the top of the nose is also excellent. The cowl is excellent. Really, the body on this car is surprisingly good. Moving under this passenger seat, what we can see here is the rusted area is pretty much confined to this zone right here. This is the weakest portion along the inner sill. That's this section right here, just inside under the door itself. Here's the outer sill being the rocker panel. Anyway, this area is rusted through, and this cross member is going to need a patch right here. What we would do is cut this rectangle away and weld in a patch and patch that cross member. Not too big a deal. What's nice to see is that the rest of the cross member is solid, and the rest of the seat, the floor pan under the seat, is also just fine. And here's something I had a kick finding. This is a penny and the year, 1959. Looking under here in the footwell, it's actually the original floor pan, and that's a common rust problem, which you'll see on the driver's side in a minute. And there's the inner sill where the rust through has occurred. you can see that whole front portion is going to need to be replaced. And I think what I would do is actually cut here, because the floor pan's fine and the forward outer rocker is fine. I would just cut this out and patch it. There is this one hole here in the floor pan. A small patch could be welded in there too. That's how I would handle inside here on this particular Bugeye. Here's some new sheet metal that comes with the car. There's a new outer rocker panel. It's got a little surface rust from sitting around, but that aft section I would slice off and then I would weld it right onto this area here. This has been ground away to prepare it, and then there's a little surface rust, but this aft portion of the rocker needs to be cut off and repaired. And then the rest of the rocker is not too bad, so what I would probably do is cut this forward portion off this inner sill. This is a whole new inner sill piece, the full length. But really all you need is the forward portion. I would cut this off, cut out on the inside, and weld it in place. I want to just show you how nice the rear section of this car looks. They often are good, but this one is particularly clean and original looking. There's a white wall tire on an original rim. That's nice to see. It looks like it's been repainted. And there's the original gas tank. So the trunk floor looks quite sound. And the other nice thing is that the rear end of this car is solid. There's no evidence of it being pounded out or puttied or welded. So it looks like this car was well taken care of. Oftentimes you'll see dimples that have been pressed out. Moving over here to the driver's floor pan, same sort of thing. It's pretty solid under the seat, and the cross member is good on the inboard side by the tunnel. And then on the outboard side we've got a hole there that'll have to be patched. And then this outer section of the floor under the seat is still bolted down so you can drive it. But this outer section, you can see the front of it there, all the way back to the bulkhead in the back. We'll need to do a repair. The floor pan up here has been changed at some point. It looks like a piece of galvanized tin just laying in there, so you can plan on doing a footwell on the driver's side. And then here's actually a pretty good bulkhead. This vertical section here is often quite rusty. I've sometimes seen them rusted all along that seam. This one is just a little rusted in the corner, and that outer rectangle that we were just describing, that's where I would replace it, and that will take care of that. Here's a good top bow frame and the little buckets that hold the top frame as well. And I wanted to also show you the bulkhead here where it meets the floor, also in pretty good shape. And lastly, I want to show you some of the other things that come with the car. There's a stack of 4 chrome hubcaps, original. That's kind of neat. That's the original spare tire hold down web strap. It's a 3-piece setup. The original jack, original lug wrench. That's a license plate bracket. There's a pretty good top. That'll work fine. There's some decent side curtains that'll just need new rubber gaskets. A couple of interior panels. And the sheet metal that I described earlier, inner and outer sills for that right side on this Bugeye for restoration.